Development has become the focus of all present-day activities. To be meaningful, development has to be holistic, integrating the social, economic, political, and cultural aspects. Development for the purpose of attainment of goals needs to be progressive, innovative, planned along with effective integration mechanism and sound coping ability, aiming at the developmental benefits to be accrued to humanity at large. In India since independence, efforts have been made to ensure participation of people in the process of development, among others, through Community Development Program and Panchayati Raj institutions. Development is more an extension work than administrative task. The developmental tasks characterized by flexibility, creativity, motivation, and commitment could be performed better by voluntary organizations. Initially, voluntary organizations in India worked towards cultural and religious upliftment of masses. Gradually, they moved towards developmental programs with the aim of reducing socio-economic inequalities and injustice. The challenges relating to upliftment of people in areas like literacy, health and medical care, housing, and so on, necessitated the entry of voluntary organizations in a big way in our country.
Can you throw light on the emergence of voluntary sector in India?
Voluntary sector in India as a powerful sector emerged only in the second half of the 19th century with Samaj movement. We had Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Prarthana Samaj. Raja Ram Mohan Roy in the north and Kandukuri Veerasilingam Pantulu Garu in the south were pioneers in giving this voluntary sector vitality. And moreover, it is an extension of social reform movement that has taken roots after India's struggle for independence. And later, in the first quarter of the 20th century here, with Gandhiji's entering into politics, it has become a socio-political movement. Particularly, women, middle-class women, were drawn more and more into the voluntary effort, and they have become pressure group, protesters. They started playing a protester role, providers of some social services, and also they have taken a lead in the freedom movement of India. That is how the voluntary sector, first, especially among women, I am keeping women in view, has started playing a role, successfully played a role in getting independence to India, and later, after independence, in solving some of the socio-economic problems. And when I have studied in international perspective, I found that keeping the Wolfenden Committee report, 1978, all about the future of voluntary organizations in India, all the four sectors, that is voluntary sector, organized sector, we find merged in India, and they began to take up complex solutions to the problems.
Voluntary organizations have evolved to meet the emerging needs of the community at large. The government organizations undertake various developmental programs to tackle problems of poverty, employment, education, health, and so on. But by and large, they are rigid, slow to innovate, follow formalized work procedures, and lack initiative, whereas voluntary organizations possess certain distinct characteristics in their approach towards development and methods of administration. Such features like flexibility, minimum procedural practices, innovative methods of operation, better management skills, easy accessibility to people, and sensitivity to field problems facilitate the effective as well as efficient functioning of voluntary organizations.
I believe voluntary organizations must be always forerunners for the development and pilots of the development programs. There must be inventor of the new program that helps the poor people. Because voluntary organizations' proximity to the people, their cost effectiveness, their understanding of the people's problem, and their oneness with the community where development is taking place. That is one of the reasons I always called the voluntary organization as a fifth estate. There are four estates in democracy: the parliament, the judiciary, the bureaucracy, and the press. But I called there is a fifth hand, which is also a voluntary organization. Because voluntary organization's job is to create awareness of the people, to make use of the progressive legislations and constitution which we have.
With the passage of time, state functions have undergone a tremendous increase. Consequently, for being a supplemental channel to government machinery for performing developmental tasks, there has been a spurt in the growth of voluntary organizations in India. They are working in various areas like rural development, health, education, social welfare, protection of the environment, provision of legal aid, welfare of women and children, and so on.
This Andhra Mahila Sabha is a very comprehensive and multi-dimensional service-oriented organization started by Mrs. Durgabai Deshmukh. Here in Hyderabad and Andhra Pradesh, we have taken up education. In education for adult women, we have started orientation courses and vocational training and job-oriented and professional courses also. And law college also we have started. And besides this thing, in the health side, we have started one 250-bedded hospital from gynec to open heart surgery. And nurses trainings, one is auxiliary nurse training and another is general nursing here in Madras also. Besides this, we have started institutions for physically handicapped, mentally retarded and hearing handicapped institutions also we have started. We are giving training in these institutions, and at the same time we are trying to rehabilitate these children also. And that way the Andhra Mahila Sabha is doing in the urban areas all these projects. But in the rural areas also we are covering Sangareddy, Mahbubnagar, Ibrahimpatnam. In the Ibrahimpatnam side, we have taken up purely rural centers, that is in agriculture, horticulture and sericulture.
AWARE is an organization dedicated for the upliftment of rural poor, with a special emphasis on Harijans and tribals. This organization was started on an experience which I gained in 1975 out of one of my research. When I did a research in one of the tribal blocks to know the relevance of government program, I was shocked to know that 62% of the government funds has gone to maintain the bureaucracy. And 31% of the money has gone in the hands of middlemen in the form of corruption, commission, etc. I felt the people's condition of like this are because they are not aware of the government program, they are not understanding what government is doing for them. So unless people are part of the government program, there is no development. So I said, for any development, awareness is precondition. And with that concept, I started this organization in 1975 to create awareness among the poor, to have their rights implemented, their infrastructure used, and development become a people's movement. So the objectives of Aware organization is to create awareness among the people, to use the government infrastructure for their own development, use the constitution for their own equality, more protection, equal distribution, and psychological placement of the oppressed into the mainstream of development.
In translating the development goals into action, the voluntary organizations take up many programs. Imparting knowledge and disseminating information to the people is one of their most important functions. Also, people need to be made aware of their rights and duties so that they refuse to accept a system that perpetuates injustice and struggle for establishment of a just society. For instance, Action for Welfare and Awakening in Rural Environment, AWARE, undertakes the program of creating legal awareness among the people, giving them information about various development programs launched by the government.
The main first thing is that we are to having the legal training programs, the first activities, because our rural area, most of the people are living in illiteracy and they do not have any knowledge about our legal enactment and benefits through those courts. And next thing is that the prohibition of untouchability, because the most of this Harijans and Girijans are treated, and even now also where some of the cases are noticed that they were treated as untouchabilities. So that if at all we have any notices, we have to rush to the spot and inquire the matter and settle the issues if peacefully. If not possible, we will take the legal precautionary methods. And we also file cases those respective areas. And third thing is that we have to main activities like the releasing and rehabilitation of bonded laborers.
ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాల వయసు ఉంటుంది నీకు? 90 ఉంటాయండి. 90 సంవత్సరాల వయసు. చిన్నప్పుడు ఏం చేసేవాడు? జీతం చేసేవాడు.
I am Pichaya, 80 years old. I was a bonded laborer for nearly 40 years. It was only Aware which helped me in getting released from this, and I am now happy.
జీతమే ఉన్నాడు. బయటపడ్డా వేరే ఇచ్చిన కాంచి.
మరి ఆ రోజుల్లో బాగుందా నీకు ఇప్పుడు బాగుందా?
ఇప్పుడే మంచిగా ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు అన్నానికైనా బట్టకైనా దేనికైనా మంచి.
My husband was a bonded laborer. We faced a lot of hardships. With the help of Aware, he got released. Now, with Aware's assistance, we are having proper food, clothing, shelter, and our children are going to school. Now, I also earn ₹20 per day in this rope making work.
We surveyed all the bonded laborers and submitted petitions through village association to the collector, MRO and RDO. They are conducting enquiries in the villages, and if they felt that this comes under bonded labor, they are releasing. But some of the cases, even if government not identified as a bonded laborers, and we felt that these people are comes under bonded labor, and simply we are releasing and rehabilitating with our own money.
Women continue to be deprived sections of our society, who are denied various lawful rights. The Legal Aid Cell of Andhra Mahila Sabha provides a supportive role in provision of legal aid to women.
This Legal Aid Center for Women, which is run by lady lawyers and which was started in the year 1983 under the able guidance of Justice Gangadhar Rao. Objectives are mainly to help the deserted women, harassed women, a sort of those who want actually the help of the center where they want to go to courts. While explaining the legal angle, they know what to do. and how this applicant is proceeding. So they know what is going to be done to them. So they will be, sometimes they agree for that, or else they may say that sometimes people are stubborn. They say we'll see in the court. Then, depending on the status of the woman, normally women when they come out of the house, they don't have any income. Depending on the status of the woman, we provide legal aid.
मैं शराब पी के मेरा बिजनेस दूर हो गए मेरे से.
My wife had left me because I was a drunkard. Then I explained my problems to the legal aid center here, and I also assured that I would not drink anymore. The center assisted me in getting this problem solved. Now me and my wife are happy.
Training is an essential input in the process of development. Many voluntary organizations are using this method to sharpen technical skills and imparting knowledge to the clientele being catered to by them, and also to provide them self-employment opportunities.
Here is a unique feature of this vocational training center is the normal as well as the handicap learn the skills together. See, so that the handicapped learn to how to adjust with a normal population in a real life situations. In this tailoring, this basically 1.5 years the training will be imparted for the mentally retarded and hearing handicap and partially physically handicapped. They attend 1 year training course. Depending on the severity of disability, we extend the training program. Here they learn all kinds of tailoring, embroidery activities. Then after that, after successful training, we place them in nearby workshops and tailoring units, or we help them to set up their own units.
Provision of health for all by 2000 AD is the objective of the government. Voluntary organizations are supplementing the efforts of the government in providing curative and preventive health services to people in both rural and urban areas.
The main aim of this health project is to provide medical services to the needy tribals who are living in the thick forest on either side of the Godavari river banks, and it is mainly it is working in three stages. One at the base hospital, second one in the boat, and third one in the field. And totally it has adopted 80 villages which are situated in the thick forest area.
Durgabai Deshmukh Hospital is a constituent of the voluntary organization Andhra Mahila Sabha. It was founded about 26 years ago as a small women and child welfare center. Gradually, it has various specialties are all added. It became a general hospital, and I'm glad to say today with the addition of super specialties like cardiology, cardiothoracic surgery and urology, our hospital is competing with most of the major commercial hospitals in Twin Cities. The hospital has got about 240 beds, and our aim is to serve mostly the weaker sections and the middle classes. I need not emphasize that we give concessions or sometimes complete waiver in deserving weaker sections. Others, our rates are chargeable or very less than compared to other hospitals.
Illiteracy is a serious impediment to an individual's growth and the country's socio-economic development. Voluntary organizations are on a large scale supplementing the efforts of the government in promotion of adult literacy and eradicating illiteracy.
The Literacy House, of which I am the chairman, was established in September 1967 by Dr. Durgabai Deshmukh. She established this in order to carry out 5 functions. First function was training the master trainers in the literacy movement. Second is really to give reorientation and bit course for literacy workers. To prepare primers is the third function. And the fourth function is really to organize workshops of writers to produce literature which is suitable for the post-literates. And the last is prepare media material like puppetry and cassettes and audios and videos and so on. These 5 functions were taken up by the Literacy House. Then it went on like this till 1980, when they were organizing essentially functional literacy programs, particularly for farmers, rural women, and also some masons, fishermen, and greater emphasis being laid on rural women. In 1980, Government of India took up a national adult education program, and with the assistance of the Government of India, they took up a bigger program of adult education. And since 1988, it has been recognized by Government of India as a state resource center for Andhra Pradesh, where it provides all the necessary support for the bigger program that the Government of India has taken up under the National Literacy Mission.
The voluntary organizations, no doubt, are playing a pioneering role in promotion of developmental activities. The inbuilt flexibility and lesser bureaucratic hurdles in their functioning enable them to experiment with new ideas, besides adopting innovative methods within the system to meet their objectives. But there are certain problem areas which hamper the effective and smooth functioning of many voluntary organizations, like paucity of finances, human resources and their motivation, lack of adequate governmental support and cooperation, bureaucratic attitudes leading to frustration, and political interference.
Well, the voluntary organizations all over the country, as well as we as part of those voluntary organizations, face many problems. But I would say that the most acute problem which all of us face is one of finance, funds. As you probably know, the voluntary organization, many of them, like Andhra Mahila Sabha, they have grown enormously large in recent years. And as for Andhra Mahila Sabha, though it remains a trust, still we have many facets of activity. We have many services, and we render these services practically at the very top level of efficiency and effectiveness. And therefore, the kind of funds which we need for running these activities is really quite big, very large. Of course, we do run quite a few projects on central funds, central as well as state financed. But the trouble about these projects is that most of the money which we get as funding goes into the overheads, establishment, mostly salaries and so on. And there is really very little left for our developmental activities. That is one thing. But along with that also is another aspect of the same thing, and that is that these funds which come from government sources, they all come with a lot of red tape attached to it. We had some political interference in this sense that many of the political parties, they get bothered that their power bases may be intruded into. They may lose their power base, because if you are giving them something really good, which they can use for their own upliftment, then the credit may go to the people, our volunteers, rather than to the parties. So this kind of problem also some of the voluntary organizations which are working in the rural areas would be facing. We also have some problems involving the human resource and motivation. Actually, I think the human resource and motivation go together. They are linked.
Involvement of voluntary organizations in development process has become essential. They play a vital supportive role, and a lot needs to be done in strengthening them.
As long as the voluntary organizations deliver goods, as long as the voluntary organizations work in such a way that they are really aware of the acute problems which today we face, and which we, the voluntary organizations, only can do much better than the previous setup, such as the bureaucratic run growth. I think voluntary organizations do have a very great future. But I would add this also, in order that this becomes a fact, we need a few things. One is that we need to have a lot of information given to the public regarding the voluntary organizations. Then in order to make that workable, I think voluntary organizations themselves also should look in, within themselves, and they should set their houses right. They should see it's not enough to be honest and do very good dedicated work. You should be able to appear also to be doing that. And in order to do that, they should have a democratic setup, and they should also have managerial skills which are professional. And therefore, I think the voluntary organizations also must take this into account and see how best they can do. They can achieve maximum with minimum resources in a minimum time also.